Hi, baddies. Welcome back to another episode of Terra's Baddies Club. I'm really excited because this week has been really great. I've had a lot to do in life. I baked at the cookie store that I work at 3 days a week, and then I also taught puppy yoga. It's so fun. The puppies are so cute, and I also just feel like I get to connect with so many great people and meet so many great people that way. And then I also had my friend shower this weekend where I got to bake all the baked goods for her. And I was so excited because I really got to put my baking to the test in a sense and also get together a great order for a party. And I just love baking and I have my new baking company. So I'm so excited about, just showing more pictures as well. And then I also have my podcast course coming up June 3rd. For anyone that really wants to start a podcast, anyone can join. Anyone that wants to share their story and doesn't really know how to and just wants to learn another format, this is really great as well. And anyone that wants to start specifically a true crime podcast, but you could take it and start a podcast. It's really for anyone. And then also Sarah Fraser, my guest today, has a podcasting course as well. She is a 20-year personality in the media, and she also has her own podcast, The Sheriff Fraser Show. And it is so great because she talks about pop culture. And then today we're going to talk about pop culture as well. We're going to talk about Sister Wives, Blake Lively, and then a few other personal things as well, talking about fertility and her fertility journey. She's been so vulnerable in sharing that. So I'm so excited to have on Sarah Fraser. Let's welcome her. Hi, Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited because we connected at Podcast Evolutions and
Terra, how was it? I know, I was so crazy. That was such a fun happy hour meetup, wasn't it? We got to meet all kinds of podcasters, and no, I loved meeting you. It was so great.
oh yes, and then it was for True Native.
True Native Media,
Yes.
yes, who sells. Wait, by the way, did they sell your commercial ads or did they just host? Was that just like a happy hour for like all podcasters and then we all met?
For fun. I was in transition with podcasts. I was starting this podcast, but not fully there yet. So they don't they don't rep me ads yet. Yet. We're saying yet.
Yes, they're a good company. Yeah.
Yes. However, my last podcast had over 250,000 listens, and that was Survivor episodes. And so that would have worked for them, but then I stopped that podcast. Yeah. So
Okay.
I talked to them about ads for that, but then it wasn't the timing, and I'll connect. They were all great people. They got great food for us. I like food. I like to eat. So that's why I was really there.
I'm so with you. Like, you could definitely win my business with some appetizers and like free wine. You're right. You're right. Yeah, I'm with you.
You guys, you want to do business? Yes, I'm there.
Love, love.
Yes. And then one of the big topics is, well, Roberta Blevins brought me to it because she has her ads with them.
Yeah, yeah, she's got a great podcast too.
Yes. And then we were talking about Quiet on Set and then how you just interviewed Drake.
So crazy. And do you know it's been 1 year since Drake Bell gave me the exclusive interview after that Quiet on Set documentary dropped? And I think when you and I met, had you watched it? Had you seen it?
Yes.
Okay. Unbelievable. I mean, you remember a year ago, that documentary was probably the most talked about thing for 2 weeks in media. It was so shocking. For people that haven't seen it, it's out on HBO, it's out on Max, and it's really explores child exploitation of Nickelodeon shows. But the big reveal is that Drake Bell was sexually assaulted and abused by a like producer, voice coach. He'd done many things in Hollywood, Brian Peck. And for the very first time ever, he revealed his identity. Like in Hollywood, people knew there was a Nickelodeon star that had been abused by him, but because Drake Bell was 15 at the time, underage, his identity was never published. But the shocking part about it was all these Hollywood actors and A-list people and stars had written these letters of support for Brian Peck because he'd been in Hollywood a long time and had really pulled the wool over people's eyes. And so Drake, was brave and exposed all that. And so, yeah, I forever am grateful for Drake Bell and will always speak so highly of him. Like every time he comes on my show, he will address everything. He had his own incident with having contact with an underage girl. He was never on a sex registry. And, he talks about basically being a sexual abuse survivor. Like you're so messed up as to what you think is right, is wrong. He went through a drug addiction period. So, yeah, I'm forever grateful for him. He came on my podcast and it really changed the direction of my show, meaning, the level of guests I could get and the notoriety and people discovering my show for the first time.
Well, I love it. I think that that was such a great interview. And I love how you even talked about how he had that one mishap with a girl because it was really misconstrued in the media.
Yeah, and that's how I ended up getting the interview with him because he really does at the time, I'm not sure if it's changed, but he really didn't trust mainstream media because the New York Times, a lot of outlets had published him as a sexual predator, like basically being on a sex registry list, being a sexual predator, and that never happened. The case was dismissed as a misdemeanor. His side of the story is he had no idea she was 15. There was a girl that was reaching out to him. They were exchanging nude pictures. He never bothered to ask about her age, thinking that she was 18 or older. He was 30 at the time. And then her parents are the ones that reached out to him and were like, this is a 15-year-old girl. They never met up in person. I mean, clearly a huge mistake. And when you're
Yeah.
famous, I would think that's like 101. You would have to know, especially men, I'm sure are getting, 14-year-old girl, like those are your audience. So I'm sure like you have to be hyper aware.
Yeah.
But, he was very honest about it that he was not getting therapy at the time, hadn't addressed the abuse that he had suffered, was in his addiction. But yeah, that they did exchange photos. It did happen. It was a misdemeanor. He's 36 or 37 now, so it was several years ago, and he's had no issues since. But yeah, he did. He openly talked about that.
Yeah, and I think it's important to talk about that, especially since there are so many things in the media that you're like, okay, what is going on? What's this? What's that? And of course, that's not right to exchange photos with a 14-year-old girl or a 15-year-old girl. However, you don't know. And I was one of those girls that was like, oh, like it would be cool to like be, at his concert, meet him. And I think that there needs to be like, okay, guys need to learn, okay, what's your age? But girls also lie about the age, but it doesn't make it right. But maybe do a background check. That's what I just say about anyone, do a
Yeah.
background check if you're interested in anyone.
And send me your ID,
Yeah.
like send me your let's see some ID. Let's see your passport. Let's see what you're, who you say you are. So, yes, I think and he's a dad. I think, he's changed a lot and he's been on my show again. He's been doing other podcasts and it's really been brave of him. And he said, it's still so difficult even a year on because that what happened to him, it never goes away. And
Hmm.
now he certainly talks more about it. But he said what's been so rewarding is people come up to him now in the airport and they're no longer a fan of Drake and Josh, but they're saying, hey, I experienced something similar as a kid. And by you sharing that makes me feel like, hey, I can share it, just one less I guess, I'm sure there's all kinds of feelings you have when that happens to you. So, yeah, I really am so grateful for him. And he was just such an amazing interview.
I love it. And then, okay, so something that's crazy is I found out that one of my friends' husbands wrote a letter in support of Brian Peck because he was so manipulative. He
Sure.
was.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Peck, even went to jail for child sexual abuse, got out of jail and worked again. I mean, he really had told people that he was being framed. He was being, he was the victim. And Brian had worked his way up in Hollywood to be a fairly legitimate producer. I mean, people really, yeah. A lot of people from Alan Thicke, I mean, major players in Hollywood had written letters to support him,
Yeah.
really believing him.
Well, I was like about to say Alan Thicke, but then I'm like, oh, Robin Thicke. We don't support him. Yes. Okay, so I love that your podcast is about pop culture. I sometimes am a Martian and I just live in the clouds and I don't know what's going on with pop culture, but I know there's a lot going on with the Sister Wives right now, right?
Oh my God, epic show. Yes, so much. Where do you
Okay,
want to start?
like, okay, so how many of them now is there? Like, who's leaving who?
Right? Okay, for your audience that may not follow the show, or a lot of people followed it, I mean, because this is crazy. Sister Wives has been on the air 19 seasons since 2010. I mean, it's one of the longest running reality shows, not competition shows, because obviously we have Survivor, so many of those, right? But one of the longest running sort of dramedy reality show. And if people remember, it follows the life of Cody Brown, who's a polygamist, which means you have multiple wives, and he had 4 wives. But in the past 2, 3 years ish, all of his wives, except for one, have left him. So 3 wives have divorced him. They've either sought now again, you can't be married to multiple women in the United States. So he's married to one wife, Robin, that is still with him, and he had these spiritual marriages with these 3 other women who now
Okay.
have either gotten them annulled by the AUB church, which is kind of a division, a sect of Mormonism. So they have left him. One of the ex-wives has gotten remarried. She's now suing him for back child support and child custody. I mean, there's so much good tea in this show. It couldn't be better.
Oh my gosh, it's just wild. I've actually seen little bits and pieces of the show, but I've never sat down and watched it per se because I just don't get it.
You're not alone. You know, a lot of people feel like it's watching paint dry, especially in these past couple of years. People have felt like nothing new happens. But I got sucked into it probably about 5 years ago during when the pandemic started. I was kind of late to the game and I was just like, oh my God, I couldn't believe. It's so fascinating to me when people live in these relationships, right? Because for a lot of years, they all got along. Like he had four
Okay.
wives, one guy, 18 kids. I mean, it's like, how is this working? And could this ever be me? Could I ever share my husband with multiple women? Now, of course, they all say polygamy doesn't work. They hate it. I mean, there's these rumors that Cody and Robin are going to try to continue it, but a lot of people feel like that's just for the show. So I oddly got into it and now I love it. And a lot of people believe Cody's a complete sociopath, narcissist. And to sort of see him operate from a place of like complete delusion that the world should come to him it's really fun to hate watch. It's really
It's such a good show. Want to see them try to get wives, be like, hey, can we try to find another one? How are they going to do that? Are they going to hold like
right.
a pageant show or something?
Right? I mean, they probably have to try to find a sister wife through this other like sister wife community.
Okay.
Or, I mean, now online, I mean, I don't know. I'm sure there's probably just dating sites where you can say that you want to be in a polygamous relationship and be open to that. So it will be interesting to see if they're serious. Part of me doesn't think that they are, but also, I mean, that's really what the show was about. So what is the show if we are not exploring the highs and lows of polygamy?
Yeah, true. And I mean, I have clients that are in polygamy, but I feel like it's a different situation for them. They're not on television, they're not in coercive, controlled relationships. I feel, especially since there's word that he might be a narcissist and
Yeah.
seems very entitled, egotistic.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and I mean, at times throughout the show's history, they've sought therapy, they've been to relationship coaches, but it's never seemed to work. And I think ultimately he's really in love with Robin. I mean, the interesting part is Robin's the one that's sort of more in love with polygamy. She enjoys having multiple wives, having sister wives, They really it's a culture that they really get into. So yeah, I mean, that show is just one of TLC's highest rated, and by far, I find endlessly fascinating for some reason.
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, it's interesting. And now I'm thinking, is that girl a lesbian now and just like trying to be in the religion and being like, I just want another girl? Why can't we just have another girl here?
Now that would be a good turn of events. I wanna see Robin Brown come out as a lesbian, yes. Yeah,
I'm
a lot of
manifesting
people
that for her.
me too. A lot of people feel like she wants another sister wife because she wants to get rid of Cody. So, like, when
Okay.
he had 3 other wives, every couple of nights he was at somebody else's house, so a lot of people feel she, like, wants a break from him, and now she has him 24/7, but another sister wife, he'd have to go over there, he'd have to be doing stuff. So, various, like, theories on why.
So he's just like a really horny man, and she's like, "Get off of me, go to the
Yeah.
other women."
She's got it, yeah. And I think he's emotionally needy and a pain, yeah.
Gosh, she's like, yeah, no, go spend time over there. Leave me." That is so great. So what else is going in pop culture right now?
Well, you and I were talking about it before we started, but recently I've been covering a lot of the Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni case, which is really fascinating. And I think just has so many layers that's going to impact probably social movements to some degree. I'm endlessly fascinated. Any question that you have, I've been following it. We now have 6 lawsuits between them. So either Justin Baldoni is now suing his former publicist plus Blake and Ryan. The New York Times, Blake and Ryan are suing Wayfair, Justin Baldoni. And I'm missing there's one more. We have so many. So we have 6 lawsuits out. It's
Gosh.
crazy. Yes.
So I did cover the one where she put her lawsuit against him and Wayfair Studios. And I talked about that a little bit. And I was honestly team Blake Lively then, because it's like the
Me too.
stuff she was complaining about is okay, how can any woman not be upset by that? But then it comes out, I'm hearing other things about that it was the perfect time for her to complain, that if she had these complaints that she could actually get more so entitlement to the next book, and get the rights to that. And so now I just don't know what's going on. I've stayed out of it. I've had a bad review because people are like, you need to have something more current. So I would love to hear what's going on.
Well, here's where I think her case fell apart, because I think a lot of people believed her when she first came out, and the New York Times complaint initially dropped in December of 2024. What we discovered after that New York Times complaint is that a lot of the emails and the text messages that were published in that article were not fully published, meaning they were missing emojis, which provided context, and they were missing his response, right? And other responses that she had, which one of the big things being was she had said that she felt very uncomfortable that he had come into her dressing room while she was breastfeeding. But then Justin Baldoni and his lawyer, Brian Friedman, who's everyone is like a huge fan of and a genius, published a website where they go, wait a minute, he was invited in, and here's the text message from Blake saying to Justin, come in my trailer, let's run lines, I'm just breastfeeding. So everything that she's put out, they've had a response to, which really makes it look like she was fine at the time with all of it. The other thing that people are finding hard to wrap their head around is a couple of years ago on the set of a film, she actually made a complaint to the union. Anybody that works in television, radio, media, and especially on movie sets is a part of SAG-AFTRA union. She'd actually made a complaint against a hairdresser who she felt physically touched her inappropriately. She knows how to make a complaint, right? She knows when she is being sexually harassed, and she took action. So a lot of people feel like, where was the complaint? She had done this before. If in fact she'd felt uncomfortable this entire time with Wayfair Productions and Justin Baldoni, where was the official complaint, which filing through the union would be like your first step, right?
Okay,
That
yeah.
was never done. So there's a lot of different things. Recently, Ryan Reynolds, you might have seen this in December and January, a Deadpool skit came out, a nice
Yes.
Deadpool skit. They're actively making fun of Justin Baldoni. And now, just last week, Ryan Reynolds wants out of the lawsuit. He does not want to be sued by Ryan Reynolds, Wayfair, Jamie Heath. And his attorneys and everything are saying they're not denying the fact that nice pool skit was about and based on Justin Baldoni. It 100% was. What they're arguing is actually Ryan Reynolds really believes that Justin is a predator. And therefore, if you really believe that about somebody, it's not defamation because You believe that person is really a predator. And so, therefore, this is a very weak argument. A lot of people feel, by the way. Ryan believes that his lawsuit should be dismissed. He should be out of it.
Okay.
It's just one thing after another, right? They clearly were making fun of Justin Baldoni. And I think this case, what people have discovered, like myself, in researching it and listening and seeing Brian Friedman do a lot of interviews, is I have no doubt that Blake Lively found him to be creepy, weird. Justin Baldoni is a part of a religious group called Baha'i Faith. It's kind of an
Cultish?
Yes, very much, right?
Okay.
Like, you have a lot of experience with all that. We know many people who do podcasts about it. Very much like it's all about vulnerability and sharing and getting people to open up and share. And one of the things on the set of It Ends With Us is we know that he would love staff to kind of sit around and share like a secret or something that they had never done before. So everybody, including, I think, even Brian Friedman, agrees and believes that Blake Lively thought he was weird and creepy. But does that break the law? Did he sexually harass her? Did he deliberately try to derail her career? And a lot of people feel like she's done that herself.
Yeah.
The sixth lawsuit, by the way, is by a social media expert, Judd Wallace, out of Texas, who denies Blake Lively names him in one of the lawsuits as basically orchestrating a social media takedown of her and some of her buzz beverages and all that. And Judd Wallace absolutely denies that. And he basically says that Justin Baldoni never did anything online to destroy her career, that she did that herself, and she has never been well liked. So it's just a really interesting case. A lot of people feel that Me Too is very much on the line. If she loses this, that will set the Me Too movement back. I mean, you're a woman that's stood up,
Yeah.
you know, spoken out about your story and toxic men. And a lot of people are very scared about this, that if she isn't, again, I think she's weirded out by him, but that doesn't, did he break the law? Did he sexually harass her? And if they can't prove that, which so far it doesn't look like they can, a lot of people feel that Me Too is really on the line. Like, if she did this, are other women going to come forward? Yeah,
Yeah.
I think Blake Lively has filed complaints against other people, not him. She's obviously filed complaints against him. Jenny Slate has
Well, and then
filed.
she has unfortunately not such a great past with some of her coworkers.
Correct. Yes.
Yes.
She said everybody, Blake Lively said everyone from former high school classmates to people that have worked for her, worked with her, come out and, yes, not have great things to say. 100%.
Yeah. And I
They've
have
said a
a
lot.
personal friend, I can't say who it is, but she's worked with her as well. And she was like, she wasn't nice.
Yeah. Your
Yeah.
friend is not alone. In fact, you're hard pressed to find many people who say Blake Lively's nice. I think Paul Fig, who is the director of Another Simple Plan and some of the new movies she's been in, he's sort of been her biggest advocate.
Okay.
But you're hard pressed to find many people that go out of their way to say good things about her.
Yeah. That's unfortunate, because
It is, yeah.
in this industry, like, everyone will say Tom Hanks is the nice guy.
Right? Yeah, you don't hear anything about him. People love him, yes.
Yes. So why can't you just Tom Hanks it? I think,
Exactly.
females are dynamic and we have our moments and everybody has our moments. So it's just like, I don't know, unless like her personally, it's just hard. But then also the evidence that is coming out, especially after everything, isn't looking great for her in this.
Well, everybody's asking, where is the evidence? Where
Yeah.
is the physical allegation that he made you feel uncomfortable? Where is the no contradicting, like, don't come in my dressing room, or you made me feel uncomfortable in my dressing room, but I'm inviting you in my dressing room? I mean, everybody is waiting for that too. Where is the smoking gun? Yeah, a lot of people are waiting for that.
Yeah, now she's probably like, I just got to play it all by lawyers now. I got to do this simple favor. I'm going to lose my contract with that.
Yeah, a lot of people, I think, feel that they are going to try to settle. And the first step to that is trying to get these cases dismissed. I think they'll be very hard pressed to get them dismissed. And then after that, they'll probably go to the next legal step, which I am not a lawyer, so I don't know all those legal steps, but I think they are trying to settle eventually.
Okay, that's good. I hope they do settle because this is just a clusterfuck and it needs to be over.
It is, and there's such huge players involved in this, from Hugh Jackman to Taylor Swift. I mean, Baldoni is alleging in his lawsuit that Ryan and Blake's deliberately had Taylor Swift at their apartment when he showed up to kind of, I don't know if strong arm him is the right term, but basically to convince him that to let Blake do her rewrites on scenes and all this stuff. And, so they're not going to, Taylor Swift is not going to be deposed for this case. She is not going to be subpoenaed. She has a huge team of the best lawyers as well. Sony, who put out It Ends With Us, who has contracts with Ryan Reynolds. They don't want their executives going through court, subpoena, deposed. I'm sure they're also working with them going, how are we going to get out of this to save Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool franchise? There's just no way they want this to go to court.
Oh, yeah. But here's the thing, too. Whenever this goes on, people watch those movies more.
Oh, I mean, look, I never in a million years would have watched It Ends With Us. I actually liked it. I enjoyed it. My husband thought it was the worst garbage he'd ever, like, he thought he lost an hour and a half of his life. But, it was like light fluff, Colleen Hoover, based on the Colleen Hoover book. And I loved it. Never would have watched it if it wasn't for this controversy, ever.
Yeah. No, and then now I've kind of analyzed it from the book and from the other thing. And from the book, if you read the book, it's so weird that there's this big obsession with Ellen DeGeneres. And she
Really?
literally, yes, she
In the book?
literally, yes, in the book. And she literally writes her as if she's a stalker. So I'm
See, I
glad,
never read the book, just watched the movie, which they don't put that part in.
yeah, so I'm happy they took that part out of the movie.
The character is stalking Ellen. Okay.
Right? And then she names her kid Dory because of she's a fan of Ellen DeGeneres, and yeah, so it's interesting. Yeah, it's just a clusterfuck. I'm excited for it to be over. I'm excited for people to stop fighting about it.
I think a lot of people are with you, by the way. I think a lot of people
Yeah.
are with you.
Yes, yes. Okay, so getting into something a bit more serious, talking about your life, and you are such a huge share on social media, especially about your fertility journey and your miscarriages. Can you tell me a little bit of what you want to talk about that and share with me? Because I feel like it would relate to so many women, especially because I feel like that is something that is really hard to go through. And when you go through it, it just helps to hear other stories.
Yeah. Well, thank you for asking. And yes, I do share it. It's never easy to share. And I've had 4 miscarriages. They started when I was 36. And the first miscarriage I had was crazy. I actually had something called a partial molar pregnancy, which is very, very rare. And essentially, 2 sperm fertilize 1 egg. And it kind of creates this almost like pregnancy cancer that I had never heard of in your uterus, where all these cysts begin to grow. We ended up finding out, again, I was only like a little over 35. So the doctors were like, oh, you can just get the usual screening. When you're older than 35, when I had my son, because I have a healthy 4-year-old, you get a lot of additional screening. But when you're under the age of 35, they just kind of have a couple of checks. Like it's much less invasive. So I was just kind of over that 35 mark, and I'd gone in for a couple of appointments, but I went in for a 12 or 13-week scan. And that is when they discovered that the baby was a partial molar pregnancy and was not going to survive. But we were past the first trimester. We were
Yeah.
getting so excited. I had to have the baby actually passed on his own. It was a little boy, and we had a DNC procedure. But in rare cases, because this mole is very invasive and all these little cysts are growing, they actually didn't get all the cysts. And so I ended up developing a pregnancy cancer. I had this crazy hemorrhage one morning. I woke up and just started bleeding. It was terrifying, called 911, had to go under and do an emergency DNC. It was really terrifying. And then I had to do about 5 rounds of methotrexate shots in your butt, which is, well, your butt cheek, FYI. So
In your butt.
in your butt, people are going all the way. No, just butt cheek. And then I had to wait 6 months before I could try again for our son, which we did, and we had a healthy little boy. And since then, I've had 3 more. It's been very hard to share. I'm 43. I actually just had another miscarriage a month ago, and That one was truly an oops. We've already moved on to an egg donor. We've purchased the eggs, and I'm really looking forward to doing an egg donor this year transfer. And I just think for us, I don't know if it's age. I don't know if it's just our egg and sperm just kind of meet and don't like each other. I'm not sure, but it is so emotional. It's been so hard. And I think too, this fourth miscarriage, this is what I talk about with a lot of women, and they said the same thing. The saddest part too is like you almost become kind of numb to it when you've had multiple miscarriages. Like you begin to expect it, which is horrible. And so trying to get out of that mindset, like trying to it's almost really like a mind game, trying to get yourself in a place of I can carry a healthy child. I can have a good outcome. And that's really hard to do when you've had losses when it comes to a baby, because just the moment that you get that pregnancy test, you're so emotionally invested in this life that is growing. So thank you. I definitely shared it. I plan to share my entire egg donor journey. With having the most recent miscarriage at 9 weeks, I've gotta wait probably until May or June, I'm looking at now, an egg donor journey, and I really I didn't think I would be using an egg donor, but here I am. I tried a round of IVF last year, it didn't work, and we just don't have the insurance to cover it. So it's like where do you wanna spend your money? I mean, the doctors were saying, you may end up spending $100,000 on IVF to get a good egg, and then you don't know because you're older how well that transfer goes. And so yeah, it's definitely been a journey, but I think my husband and I have been very lucky in the way that we've always approached it. Like we just know that we're going to have more healthy children, and we've always been open to however our family is created, whether it's through egg donor. We're also doing foster to adopt here in Los Angeles. We're getting certified as resource parents. And so I think our family is going to come together in a unique way. But the hardest part, Tara, is just it's waiting. It's like when you want that family so bad and you want the two or three kids and the dog and all that stuff, and you're really ready for it. And it's just like the timing isn't what you would like. I mean, I wish I could have had another kid 2 years ago. So my son had a sibling that was so close in age to him. But I try not to get too in the weeds of that and just think about all the blessings we have and the opportunities we have to have more healthy kids.
Yeah, no, I think for like it's so hard to go through that, especially as a woman. And
Yes, you were there. Yeah, yeah. Isn't it? The moment you get that pregnancy test, you are so invested. And it's such a hard thing when you've had disappointment. Like it's such a weird place for couples to be and women to be, of like embracing it and then waiting for that next shoe to drop, but like going all in. Very hard.
yeah, yeah. So I just like was like, okay, I want to talk to her about it because
Yeah.
there's also hormones that go along with that. And then you feel like I don't know about you, but I felt like a crazy person just going through that moment. And we're not crazy at all, but just like, wow.
Oh my God. Well, IVF made me like the most emotional and crazy. That was the hardest part. The IVF, I felt the same way. Anxiety, emotional, crying about everything. Yes, very hormonal. It's a huge hormonal journey. And certainly I've had two miscarriages at the 12 and 13 week mark, and those were the worst by far because I think the baby is coming along so much.
Yeah.
There's so many hormones. You're so invested at that point to have a heartbeat that long is yeah, those were heartbreaking, very crushing, and took my husband and I a long time to grieve and move forward from.
How did you grieve and move forward from that? Did you have to do like any like rituals or anything? Did you have to like, you know?
Oh God, yeah. Well, I'm with you. We see a couples therapist every single month,
Okay.
grieving with her, talking about it, mourning the loss of like how great it would have been and like thinking good things about that baby and all that. Like, yeah, really feeling all the feels, all the sadness of that loss. We've absolutely been there and spent a lot of time in that space. And I think probably, in some ways still grieving, right? I mean, you still
Yeah.
think about it. And even though I feel ready to move on to an egg donor. I've talked to a lot of women who have used egg donors and they feel exactly how I feel. You still wonder, could my own genetics work? Could my own egg work? Is there one more good egg in there? And it's hard to get to that decision of, but I guess the hope I hold on to is every woman and every couple that I've talked to that have used an egg donor, they all say the one same thing. And that is they wish they'd done it sooner. Like, they really
Okay.
would because they just, like they spend so much time in the headspace that my husband and I have been in for the past year because 'cause we've been trying to get pregnant this past year, nothing, and then, of course, right before we're ready to do our egg donor transfer, we get pregnant, right? So, they all wrestled with it too, and many of them did IVF, and people told me, "Do IVF, try it because you don't wanna wonder, like, could there have been a good egg?" There weren't any, so it I think that's, like, the biggest hope that I've had with people is holding on to the fact that these couples all say, like, they wish they'd done it sooner, and the moment, you think, like, "Am I gonna love this child because it's not fully our genetics?" And every single one of them have said the moment that baby is born, it's like, it's yours. It's just, like, there's no
I love it. Well, I'm gonna just like be so excited and put out all those feelings for you. It's gonna happen
well,
like
ditto. Are
that, you
you
know?
trying? Are you trying now?
No, I don't have a boyfriend. So,
Well, you could still be using a sperm donor, girl. I mean, maybe we need to just get a donor.
well, I need to get to a better place financially first. And then, because I have a lot of projects going on right now. I can't talk about them publicly, but I'll tell you them afterwards.
Ooh.
Yeah, so I'm working on a lot of things, and I think this is the year just to, like, build and get everything aligned and set in place. And I'm 33,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
like I don't know, like 35 is when I probably would like freeze eggs if I, go down that route. But I also, with freezing eggs too, with all the hormones injected to you, they're also like, you have to make sure you're not acceptable to cancer and stuff.
Yeah, you do. I mean, that's why I would and I'm forever grateful. I had an OBGYN that told me from the time I was like 24, she was like, your clock is ticking. Like, if you want children, you need to be freezing your eggs, you need to be doing something. And I hated kids until I was 35. Like, I was like, I'm never having children. I hate kids. And then I met my husband and my biological clock kicked in. I was like, I need three children. So it was a little late. But I mean, I would just say to you, as somebody that's 43, I mean, don't like, find out
Okay.
your genetics, like, are you predisposed to cancer or not? Because the younger the egg, like, the sooner you can start doing some even 2 rounds of IVF, you'll probably get some great eggs. Like, just that insurance policy is so much better because you don't know. I mean, that's the thing, right? Like, I didn't expect my journey when I first went in, they were like, "You have tons of eggs," at 35. They're like, "You have tons of eggs." But you don't know what those eggs are how they're gonna react to sperm. Like, are they gonna be chromosomally accurate, So I would say if you have the time, if you have the ability, if you just even begin the process of finding out your predisposition to anything cancerous and would you be a good candidate, you should make those appointments now.
Okay. Okay. Well, I do have the fertility test and I'm doing those.
Good. That's
Yes.
great. That'll tell you a lot. Good.
Okay. So I'm like, baby steps, but I hate blood. So I'm like,
I know. I know, me too. I know it took me a long time to get over, like, getting my blood drawn and just like, yeah, I know, I'm with you.
yeah, yeah, but I appreciate you talking about that with me. And also, for the people that are dropping off here, can you just give like a brief description about your podcasting course and where people can find you, and also maybe join your podcasting course? And also, I have a podcasting course too, but I feel like ours are different, so they should just take both of ours.
100% buy both courses. Yeah, I launched this year. I know so many people that have podcasts and they get very stuck with how to grow it, how to make money. And then a lot of people want to start, but they don't really know how to begin to scale it up and make it like something viable where it's a side hustle or a funnel. So Go Big Podcasting by Sarah Fraser, but the website is gobigpodcasting.com. And podcasting isn't going anywhere, as you know. It's only getting bigger. We're offering a discount code for the rest of this month, TikTok 20. So that code is 20% off all the courses. And I also do one-on-one consulting. But yes, you should get in on podcasting. A lot of people go, "Oh, it's too late." It's not too late. If this past presidential election proved anything to you, the presidential election was probably won via podcast. Whether you like the outcome or you don't like the outcome, I mean, it was such a tipping point for where politics, pop culture, interviews are headed. So this is the time to get in. We are still in the infancy of podcasting. So get Tara's course and then go to gobigpodcasting.com, get mine.
Yes, yes. Well, thank you so much, and we'll continue to the Patreon. Thank you for listening to this episode of Terra's Baddies Club. I have just had such a fun time listening to Sarah and her point of view about like the Blake Lively trial. This also was recorded March 20, a little after my sister's wedding, so the last week of March. So I also want to provide that for context, given the time that we're talking about everything. And so I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you like this episode, please write a review. Please comment below if you're on YouTube. And please give 5 stars if you're on Apple. So thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I'm Terra Newell.